Tuesday morning began routinely for David Martinez. He arrived at his practice at 7 a.m. and prepared for a routine day. At 8:45 a.m., his receptionist buzzed his office. "Dr. Martinez, there's a process server here." David's confusion was genuine as he walked to the front desk, where a professional woman waited with a manila envelope. "Dr. David Martinez?" "Yes?" "You're being served with legal papers. Please sign here to acknowledge receipt." The documents were extensive: petition for dissolution of marriage, request for temporary restraining orders, asset declaration, and attached dozens of photographs documenting his weekend with Lily, credit card statements with highlighted charges, and a detailed timeline of his affair. David stared at photographic evidence of himself and Lily on the yacht, sharing dinner, walking hand in hand, every moment of his fictional symposium documented as a romantic weekend. His phone rang. "Dr. Martinez, Patricia Valdez, representing your wife. All joint accounts have been frozen pending asset review." "What does that mean?" "You can no longer access community property while we investigate your breach of fiduciary duty. You've spent approximately $57,000 of marital assets on your affair." The number hit David like a physical blow. He'd been careful, using the joint card while maintaining his personal accounts separately. "You'll want to retain counsel immediately. The court has scheduled a hearing for Friday regarding temporary support and asset protection. I'd also advise you to cease contact with Ms. Chen." After Patricia hung up, David sat in stunned silence. He canceled his morning schedule, claiming a family emergency. The irony wasn't lost on him. It was indeed a family emergency, one entirely of his making. By noon, word had spread through his practice. His partners requested an immediate meeting about how his legal issues might affect their business. David tried calling Elena, but her calls went to voicemail. He drove to her office building, but security informed him that Elena Martinez had left instructions that he was not to be allowed upstairs. For the first time, David felt genuine panic. Elena wasn't just hurt or angry. She was strategically dismantling their life with the precision of a forensic accountant building a case against corporate fraud. He'd underestimated his wife completely. The woman he'd dismissed as trusting and naive had been building a case against him with prosecutorial skill. The suite he'd booked with their joint card had seemed like such a small deception. Now it was the thread Ilana had pulled to unravel his entire life. Elena Martinez had always been methodical about their finances. Every month, she would reconcile their joint credit card statements with accountant precision. It was a ritual that served them well through 12 years of marriage. This Tuesday evening felt no different as she opened the American Express statement, the one they'd upgraded for David's business travel. She scrolled through the usual suspects: groceries, her yoga subscription, David's business lunches, gas stations, Amazon purchases. Then she saw it, a charge that made her pause. The Ritz-Carlton Half Moon Bay, presidential suite. 2 nights, $4,847.32. The dates were from the previous weekend, when David claimed he was attending a medical conference in Sacramento, staying at some Hampton Inn the organizers had arranged. Her hands were steady as she reached for her phone, searching for the conference David had mentioned. 5 minutes confirmed what her heart knew. No orthopedic surgery conference in Sacramento that weekend. The Ritz-Carlton Half Moon Bay was where David had surprised her for their 10th anniversary. The presidential suite was where they'd watched the sunset 2 years ago. Elena set her phone down and returned to the statement. She scrolled further, looking for other anomalies. There they were. Charges she'd dismissed as business expenses now took on sinister meanings. Dinner for 2 at an upscale steakhouse, expensive flowers, a $1,200 jewelry purchase. How long had this been going on? Elena felt strange detachment as she realized she wasn't crying. Instead, she felt cold, analytical clarity. She saved the statement and began taking screenshots. If David thought he could use their joint finances to fund his affair, he would learn that Elena Martinez hadn't built her career as a forensic accountant by being naive about financial deception. Elena's office at Hartwell and Associates had always been her sanctuary. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking downtown, awards for excellence in forensic accounting arranged on built-in shelves, and a reputation for uncovering financial crimes. Now she turned those same skills inward, methodically building a case against her own husband. The beauty of joint credit cards was equal access to transaction history. Over 3 days, Elena worked backwards through 6 months of statements, creating a detailed timeline. The pattern emerged: regular charges for restaurants where she'd never eaten, hotels where she'd never stayed, gifts she'd never received. Her assistant, Marcus, knocked with quarterly reports. "Elena, you've been working late every night this week." "Just personal projects," she replied without looking up. Marcus knew better than to press when she used that tone. The most damning evidence came from recurring charges to a florist near David's office. Every Tuesday for 3 months, $75 to Blooms and Petals. Elena had received 0 flower deliveries. She called the florist, claiming to confirm delivery addresses. "Oh yes, Dr. Martinez is one of our regulars," the woman confirmed. "White lilies delivered to Miss Chen at Meridian Architecture every Tuesday. Such a romantic gesture." Meridian Architecture. They'd designed the addition to David's practice 2 years ago. Lily Chen. The architect Elena remembered as stunning and elegant. David had praised Lily's innovative concepts during the renovation. A simple property search revealed that Lily Chen owned a condo in Half Moon Bay, 15 minutes from the Ritz-Carlton. Elena stared at her computer, connecting dots. The late nights, the sudden interest in architectural photography, the new cologne. She could confront David directly, demand explanations, suggest counseling, fight for their relationship, or she could do what she did best: follow the money and build an airtight case. Elena picked up her phone and found Patricia Valdez's number, the family law attorney who'd handled her sister's divorce 3 years earlier. Patricia's reputation was legendary: brilliant, ruthless, devoted to securing the best outcomes for her clients. "Patricia, this is Elena Martinez. I need to schedule a consultation." Patricia Valdez's office occupied the top floor of a downtown high-rise with impressive views. The attorney was exactly as Elena remembered: silver-haired, impeccably dressed, with sharp intelligence. She'd built her practice representing high-net-worth individuals in complex divorces. "Elena, good to see you, though I'm sorry about the circumstances. Tell me what's happening." Elena had prepared for this meeting like a business presentation. She walked Patricia through the timeline: suspicious charges, the pattern of deception, the affair with Lily Chen. Her voice remained steady throughout. Patricia took notes, occasionally asking questions. When Elena finished, the attorney sat back with frank admiration. "Excellent work. Most clients bring suspicions and hurt feelings. You've brought documented evidence that would hold up in court." Patricia consulted her notes. "Your husband has been using marital assets to fund an extramarital relationship. That's breach of fiduciary duty, and it affects asset division." "How much are we talking about?" "Based on your documentation, at least $50,000, possibly more if we dig deeper." Patricia leaned forward. "But here's what's interesting, Elena. You discovered this Tuesday. Today is Friday. You've spent 3 days building a case instead of confronting your husband. That tells me you've already decided." Elena considered this. It was true. She hadn't shed a tear since seeing that charge. She'd felt betrayed, angry, disappointed, but not heartbroken. Perhaps she'd been emotionally disconnecting longer than she'd realized. "What would you recommend?" Document everything. Continue monitoring the joint accounts, but don't let him know you're aware. We want to catch him in the act. Patricia's expression was all business. How are your finances structured? Joint accounts for household expenses and separate accounts for discretionary spending. The house is in both names. His medical practice is separate, but we built it with community assets. Investment accounts, retirement funds, joint investment portfolio worth $1.2 million, his 401k, my 401k, both substantial. No debt except the mortgage. Patricia made notes. You're looking at a community estate worth approximately $3 million, not counting his practice. In a straightforward divorce, you'd each get roughly half, but given his breach of fiduciary duty and your evidence, we could argue for a larger share. Elena felt satisfaction. David thought he was being clever, using their joint card while keeping his personal accounts clean. He'd probably assumed I never looked at statements carefully, that I trusted him completely. His arrogance would be his downfall. I want to retain you, Elena said. What's the next step? We begin building the formal case. I'll need copies of everything you've found, plus additional documentation. Bank statements, investment records, property deeds, tax returns. We'll also hire a private investigator to document the ongoing affair. As Elena walked back to her office, she realized she was looking forward to the weekend. While David lived his elaborate lie, she would work with Patricia on their legal strategy. For the first time in months, she felt exactly where she belonged, building a case, following evidence, seeking justice. David had taught her something valuable. Marriage was indeed a business partnership, with fiduciary duties and legal obligations. He chose to breach those duties. Now he would learn what happened when you betrayed someone who specialized in financial crimes. Michael Santos looked more like a college professor than a private investigator, but Patricia had assured Elena that he was the best in the business. They met at a coffee shop near Elena's office. Mrs. Martinez, I approach these cases with professionalism and discretion. This is probably difficult for you. Elena responded with analytical detachment. I need comprehensive documentation of my husband's relationship with Lily Chen. Times, dates, locations. Enough evidence to support breach of fiduciary duty. Michael made notes in a leather notebook. I'll need their work schedules, Miss Chen's condo address, and any other meeting locations. Do you believe they're still actively involved? The flower deliveries continue. Another charge this Tuesday. Elena slid a folder across the table. I've documented their pattern over 6 months. They meet regularly on weekends, when David claims to attend conferences. This is thorough work. Most clients only provide vague suspicions. Michael reviewed her timeline. Based on this pattern, I'd expect them to meet this weekend. There's a medical device symposium in Las Vegas that doesn't exist, I checked. Elena felt that familiar clarity. He mentioned that symposium 2 weeks ago. Said he'd stay at the Bellagio, but I'm betting he's planning another romantic getaway. I'll document whatever he's actually doing. Mrs. Martinez, how are you holding up emotionally? This level of betrayal has to be devastating. Elena considered the question. Everyone expected her to be falling apart, but she felt strangely liberated. I think I've been emotionally preparing for this longer than I realized. Our marriage has been more business partnership than romantic relationship for years. We were going through the motions. That doesn't make what he's doing less wrong. No, but it makes it easier to respond strategically rather than emotionally. Elena closed her laptop. Mr. Santos, I want you to be thorough. I want photographs, documentation of every lie, every meeting, every expense. When this is over, I want no question about what David chose to do. Michael nodded gravely. I understand. You'll have everything you need. Saturday morning arrived with crisp autumn clarity. David left early, kissing her cheek as he loaded his bag. I'll call tonight from the hotel, he promised. Elena waited 30 minutes before texting Michael. He's gone. The hunt begins. She spent the morning at yoga, finding peace in familiar poses. Her instructor commented that Elena seemed more centered than she'd been in months. If only Maya knew, Elena thought. There was something peaceful about finally knowing the truth. Her phone buzzed at 2:47 p.m. Subjects spotted at Half Moon Bay Marina, boarding private yacht. Client's BMW at Chen's condo. Elena smiled grimly. A yacht charter would cost thousands. More community assets funding David's fantasy. At 6:15 p.m., subjects returned to Chen's condo, extensive photographs obtained. The final text came at 10:30 p.m. Subjects dining on condo balcony, intimate setting, clearly established relationship. Elena turned off her phone and poured herself wine, the expensive Bordeaux they'd been saving for their anniversary. She sat on her couch, surrounded by the life they'd built together, and felt nothing but relief. Sunday evening, David returned with relaxed contentment. He told fictional stories about the symposium, educational sessions, colleagues he'd networked with. His ability to lie smoothly was almost impressive. "How was your weekend, honey?" he asked, settling beside her with casual affection. "Productive," Elena replied, truthfully. "I got a lot accomplished." Monday morning brought Michael's full report. 67 photographs documenting David and Lily's romantic weekend, full timestamps and receipts from the marina and restaurant. The evidence was overwhelming. Elena reviewed everything with methodical attention, then forwarded the file to Patricia. Phase 1 complete, ready for proceed. Patricia called within an hour. "Elena, this is remarkable work. We have everything we need to prove ongoing adultery and systematic use of marital assets. Are you ready for Phase 2? "What's Phase 2? "We file for dissolution and request immediate temporary orders regarding assets. We want to freeze joint accounts and credit cards to prevent him from spending more community property." Elena felt that familiar satisfaction. "When do we file?" "This afternoon, if you're ready. Papers will be served at his office tomorrow morning." Elena looked around her office at the awards representing her professional success, her ability to uncover truth and seek justice. David had made the mistake of betraying someone who built her career on following money trails. "I'm ready," she said. "Let's do it." 3 weeks after the papers were served, David sat across from Elena and Patricia's conference room for their first mediation session. Elena looked professional in a navy suit, her hair pulled back severely. She barely glanced at him. David's attorney, Robert Chen, had been blunt. "Your wife has documented evidence of systematic financial deception spanning 6 months. The court will view this very unfavorably." Patricia began with efficiency. "We're prepared to offer a settlement that we believe is fair." She slid a document across the table. David's hands trembled as he read. Elena would retain the house, valued at $800,000, plus 65% of their investment portfolio. David would keep his practice and retirement accounts, but would reimburse the community estate for all affair-related expenses, $73,000. "This is punitive," Robert objected. "Standard division is 50-50. "Standard division applies when both parties fulfill fiduciary duties," Patricia replied. "Your client used marital assets for an extramarital relationship. The court has broad discretion to remedy that breach." Elena spoke for the first time. "David, you spent our money on another woman for months. You lied about conferences, business trips, working late. You used our joint credit card for romantic weekends while I was home, believing we were building a life together." Her voice was calm, factual, but David heard the steel underneath. This was exactly the Elena he'd married, the forensic accountant who built her career on uncovering deception. "Elena, I know I made mistakes, but we can work through this. Marriage counseling, therapy." "Work through what exactly? Work through months of lies?" Elena's expression didn't change. "David, You made your choice when you decided our marriage was something you could betray. I'm simply responding to that choice." Robert leaned forward. "Mrs. Martinez, what if my client ended the relationship with Miss Chen immediately? What if he entered counseling?" Elena's laugh was soft and without humor. "Mr. Chen, your client had dozens of opportunities to make different choices. He could have asked for divorce before starting an affair. He could have used his own money instead of our joint accounts." She looked directly at David. Instead, he chose deception, financial fraud, and betrayal. Those choices have consequences. Patricia placed additional documents on the table. "We've also prepared a proposal for spousal support. Given Mrs. Martinez's income, she's not requesting alimony. However, she is requesting that Dr. Martinez cover her legal fees, which currently total $28,000. David felt the room spinning. The settlement would leave him with roughly $400,000 plus his practice, but minus reimbursement and legal fees, he'd be starting over financially. Elena would walk away with over $1 million and their home. "I need time to consider this," he said weakly. "Of course, but this offer expires in 72 hours. After that, we proceed to trial, where the division is likely to be even less favorable." As they filed out, David tried one last time. "Elena, please, can we at least talk privately?" She paused, and for a moment he saw a flash of something that might have been sadness. "David, you booked a suite for another woman using our joint card. You spent months lying to me about where you were and who you were with. You used our money to build a romantic relationship with someone else. So I booked a lawyer using your card. It seemed appropriate." Elena walked away without looking back, leaving David standing in the hallway with the wreckage of his marriage and full understanding of what he'd lost. He'd gambled that Elena would never discover his affair, never scrutinize their finances closely, never respond with anything more than tears and pleas. Instead, he'd betrayed someone who made her living uncovering financial crimes, someone who approached problems with methodical precision. Elena hadn't just caught him, she'd built an airtight case that would follow him through the legal system. The suite at the Ritz-Carlton cost $4,847. Elena's response was going to cost him everything else. In the elevator, David realized that Elena had been right. Choices had consequences. He'd chosen passion over loyalty, deception over honesty, immediate gratification over long-term commitment. Elena had chosen justice over forgiveness, strategy over emotion, and her own future over their shared past. If this story shocked you, just wait for what's next. Leave a comment, share it with someone who needs to hear this, and of course, subscribe and hit the bell so you don't miss a single notification.